Today is a lesson in why it's always worth seeking out a wide-body aircraft on any flight that might offer it. Join me for this trip report from Miami to Bogota, coming up. Good afternoon from Miami. I landed earlier today on a short flight from Atlanta to position me for this flight that we're going to take today. As I was super early, check-in was a breeze and I was through security in under 10 minutes. It's worth noting how big Avianca's footprint in Miami is. On the day that I'm writing this in April, they had 13 departures from Miami to Bogotá, Medellín, Cali, Cartagena, San Pedro Sula, Managua, Guatemala City, and more. Plus around 8 cargo flights per day to Colombia and Brazil. It's also partly why it's surprising to me that Avianca hasn't reopened their lounge here yet. But they're famous for cost cutting, so I suppose that's asking a bit too much. No complaints though, as that means that we'll be able to get to check out the Turkish Airlines Lounge, which is new here in Miami. From seating, to views, to food and drink, the lounge is actually really impressive. And I was more than happy to spend a few hours here on the far side of the lounge, where I could sit back and just do some plane spotting. I left the lounge with plenty of time to spare, but got distracted a few times on the way to my gate at the end of the concourse. SAS's new livery on their A350 is hands down one of my all-time favorite planes to look at. Air France also isn't too bad either. So, I know why you're here. I know why everyone clicks on Avianca trip reports. You want to see how bad the experience is. It's almost a rite of passage for an aviation YouTuber to publish a bad Avianca review. But that's not what's happening today. That's what's happening in my next video. Today is actually quite pleasant. At the far end of the concourse was our 5-year-old 787-8, one of 13 in Avianca's fleet. Boarding was already underway, again, earlier than the posted time. Not sure if this is a Colombian thing or just my luck recently. On board, I was instantly very pleased with myself for selecting this bulkhead seat. Let's take a look at all the best seats on board. Avianca uses Zodiac, or rather now Saffron, Cirrus seats in its 787 business class. These are reverse herringbone seats in a 1-to-1 configuration with all aisle access. These seats are very similar to the Collins Aerospace Super Diamond seats, with a few differences that I'll point out in a bit. First off, the best and worst choices. The maid boarding door and galley is just behind row 5, so it's best to avoid it unless you want to be walked by constantly. For the best seats, get a window seat in one of the bulkheads for a bunch of extra legroom. I chose 6 kilo for this flight. The seat is well padded and goes fully flat. There's a movable armrest as well as a touchscreen remote, but it was not allowing me to watch the moving map on it while other content was playing on the main screen. I do like how clearly laid out the seat controls and outlets are though, nothing's hidden. There's a small cubby for headphones and a water bottle holder. In front of you is one of the first of the 3 benefits to the bulkhead seats. There's just a whole lot of extra width to this area, not to the seat, but just a lot more empty space and more open feel to it. There's a frustrating storage compartment next to the seat though, which honestly, I don't know how I finally got it open. And some wonderful overhead air vents. Another benefit of the bulkhead seats, especially for long flights, is this space up here. Before landing, I always find such spaces really nice to reorganize my bag. The tray table is small but sturdy and comes from under the side table. One downside to this specific design that Avianca chose is the lack of privacy. Other airlines that use this seat, such as Cathay Pacific or American, have shells around the seat backs, which give you a bit of a cocoon feeling. Nothing of the sort here. Okay, today's flight. We'd be taking off from runway 27 and heading way up to 41,000 feet for this 3-hour flight south to Bogota's runway 13 left. As I mentioned before, I prefer the Super Diamond seat over the Cirrus, mainly because of the side storage compartment and the fixed position IFE monitor. In most Cirrus seats, you need to stow the monitor for takeoff and landing, which is the final benefit of the bulkhead seats on Avianca. The screen is in a fixed position and viewable throughout the entire flight. Pushback was just 12 minutes late and my eyes were glued to this big red engine for the majority of the flight, except of course for when we were passing all of these wide bodies on our very short taxi to the runway. I didn't realize it was essentially right behind us. We'd be taking off to the west today before a big old turn to the southeast. The spool up is up next. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing for 2 new videos each week. Always feel free to ask any questions in the comments, I make sure to reply to them all. Also, if you enjoy full-length takeoff, cruising, or landing videos, please check out my new Roam Above channel, where you can watch this flight's full-length takeoff and landings. Links are in the description below, and a big thank you in advance for checking it out. The IFE was surprisingly decent. If I had one complaint, it would be that the moving map is the older 2D version, but there are plenty of movies and content on offer, especially for a short one-movie flight. After crossing the Cuban coast, the meal service began. There are 2 things I like about the service and 2 things I don't like. Starting with what I don't like. Well, first, the sandwich looks like something served in a school cafeteria. And second, this box. I could understand if the box had everything inside already, but the sealed box had just a bottle of water and a napkin inside. What's the box for? What I did like, actually the sandwich was pretty good. It had a very Roy Rogers roast beef thing going on. The second good thing, at least it was hot. On the same flight I took on American the month prior, all I got was a snack basket. The bathrooms were more or less standard for a 787, except for the wet wipe dispenser, which I don't think I've ever seen in an airplane bathroom before. And then the sunset. If you've been watching my videos recently, you probably noticed that I've been choosing flights and seats that will just give me the best view of them. Approaching Bogotá from the northwest, Avianca does something that I honestly cannot stand. And maybe I'm wrong, but I also thought it was a safety thing. They leave the cabin lights on while it's dark outside during takeoff and landing. It's not like I missed much spectacular footage though. It was pitch black, and as soon as we landed, the windows fogged right up. And now onto a very smooth transfer to my next flight. For this flight though, that's all there is to write, so let's get into the flip-flop score. Like I said in the intro, being on a wide-body aircraft makes a huge difference here. That combined with the surprisingly good service on the ground and in the air made for a nice flight. Biggest knock was for only having one meal choice. Overall, a better than expected 84 out of 100. Would I fly Avianca again? On a 787, I'd have no hesitation. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe so that you can catch my next leg down to Sao Paulo and see where I stand so far with my aviation YouTuber bingo card.